Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Alita Williams, and I am the president of the Rotary Club of Chicago. I would like to convene our 5,683rd meeting. And with that, I would like to have Sarah Buck come up and give the thought of the day.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Alita warmed you up for me. Thanks. I knew that given our speaker today, my thought of the day was going to be about health and specifically about exercise. But truth be told, I don't think I can do this without being preachy. So it's definitely going to come across as being preachy. So let's just put that out there right now. The fact is, if we don't put time in on the front end for our health, we'll spend a whole lot more time and money on the back end on our health. This is destructive not just to us personally, but also to our friends and family, as well as to the economy as a whole if we don't have a productive workforce. There's no such thing as a magic pill for health, but if there was one, exercise would be the closest thing to it. There are the well-known benefits such as weight management and reduced risk for cardiovascular disease and diabetes. But let me add the following to the perhaps less well-known list. Exercise has been found to be effective in reducing mild to moderate feelings of anxiety and depression and to improve sleep quality. It is related to enhanced executive function, which is a subset of higher order cognitive processes, particularly in our most vulnerable populations, including the elderly and children. Children who are physically active during the school day are better able to stay on task, are less disruptive, more able to focus, and may score higher on certain achievement tests. It's correlated to an enhanced quality of life, allowing us to live a longer, fuller, independent life where we can carry out activities of daily living with relative ease. You don't have to participate in vigorous activity in the gym or try complicated yoga postures. Current guidelines recommend accumulating 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity every week. If that sounds overwhelming, break it down to around 25 minutes a day. If your response is, I don't know what to do, the answer is to find something that you like and to never underestimate the value of walking. If your response is, I don't have time, the answer is, yeah, you do. You'll make time for the things that you want to do. Without question, exercise meets number 4 of the Rotary 4-way test. It is beneficial to all concerned. It is beneficial to not just your own physical, emotional, financial, and cognitive health, but also is necessary for a strong community. So I could say I'm sorry for being preachy, but I'm not. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. See, as an educator, she's always educating us.
She's always preachy. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Nope. You're always educating us, Sarah. Thank you. So for everyone, we will do our best to get the questions into the Zoom. If you are on the Zoom and have questions, please put them into the chat. In person, please keep it down to 1 question per person and be succinct. Let's be cognizant of everyone's time. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker. Toni Preckwinkle is the 35th president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, an office she has held since 2010. She is the first Black woman to be elected to the office. A dedicated and effective public servant, President Preckwinkle has worked to transform county government through increased fiscal responsibility, transparency, and improved services. Under her leadership, Cook County used the Affordable Care Act to create County Care, which I would like to say, I love County Care because I'm on it, a managed care program for Medicaid eligible residents. Cook County provides quality care to more than 500,000 individuals through the health system and health plan. During President Preckwinkle's administration, she has worked to expand the scope of Justice Advisory Council to coordinate and implement juvenile justice reform and public safety policy. In coordination with the JAC, President Preckwinkle has worked collaboratively with the county's public safety stakeholders toward the goals of safely reducing the population of Cook County Jail, Cook County, and Cook County Juvenile Temporary Detention Center, while preserving public safety, reducing recidivism, and promoting equitable access to justice. The economic footprint of the Chicago region is larger than most nations in the world. In 2011, President Preckwinkle created the Bureau of Economic Development to lead and promote equitable economic growth and community development through the county. President Preckwinkle is also the president of the Forest Preserves of Cook County, one of the largest and oldest forest preserve districts in the United States. Before she was elected to Cook County Board President, President Preckwinkle served 19 years as an alderman of the 4th Ward. She was a co-sponsor of the living wage ordinances that passed in the City Council in 1998 and 2002. Prior to holding elected office, President Preckwinkle was a high school history teacher for 10 years before serving as Economic Development Coordinator for Chicago and the Executive Director of the Chicago Jobs Council. A native of St. Paul, Minnesota, President Preckwinkle came to attend the University of Chicago, from where she holds a bachelor's and a master's degree. She is a proud mother of 2, grandmother of 3. And with that, I introduce President Preckwinkle.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very grateful to be here with you today. It's not the first time I've spoken to the Rotary Club, so it's great to be back. I'm here today to give you an update on my administration's work, and the timing of this meeting is fortunate since we had the good fortune to pass our budget last week. One of the basic obligations of any administration, and surely the legislature, is to pass the budget. And last week, our commissioners unanimously passed our $9.26 billion plan for fiscal year 2024. The budget reflects our shared values, it's a blueprint for our future, and it's a testament to our commitment to the well-being of all of our residents, without raising taxes, fines, or fees. It's a document that speaks to the services we provide, the communities we support, and the dreams we aspire to realize. It's a critical instrument in shaping the future of Cook County, and today I'll share what makes this transformative budget one of the best in the more than a decade that I've served in this office. We've worked diligently to make Cook County a place where innovation, resilience, and opportunity abide. Our investments in healthcare, public safety, small businesses, housing, and infrastructure are paying off. But as we all know, progress is not achieved overnight, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And through a pandemic, inflation, economic uncertainty, and numerous other regional and global challenges, I can confidently say today that the financial condition of Cook County is very strong. Cook County's $9.26 billion budget is balanced, and it leaves room for prudent reserves for our long-term programs. We were able to achieve this because over time, that over the last 13 years, the county has made difficult but necessary choices to meet our fiscal obligations. For starters, we've decreased our outstanding debt by over $700 million in the past decade, $700 million. And our bond rating has been upgraded twice. This recognition is proof that local governments can both invest in our communities and be responsible stewards of our residents' tax dollars. We're also proud of the recent pension reform legislation passed by the state legislature. This was made possible by collaborating with House Speaker Chris Welch, Senate President Don Harmon, as well as State Senator Robert Martwick, State Representative Marcus Evans, and the County Pension Fund, among others. And we're grateful that the governor signed this legislation into law. Through this work, we now have our pension contribution schedule codified in state statute. We were in the awkward position previously of having a statutory requirement that didn't meet our actuarial needs. So we're on a path now to be 100% funded in 35 years. This is a big deal. We're in a strong financial position because we've been faithfully living within our means, doing more with less, and creating structural budget solutions year after year. We're also continuing to turn hardships into historic investment opportunities for our communities. This includes managing the nation's largest publicly funded guaranteed income initiative, putting millions of dollars toward assisting small businesses, and providing help to residents who help abolish medical debt. Actually, we have the largest publicly funded guaranteed income program in the country at $42 million. 3,250 families are participating, and we are analyzing the results with the University of Chicago. Because of our judicious management over the years, we have the capacity to sustain pandemic-era programs even after we've spent down the federal support. That's the American Rescue Plan Act support. We've developed a thoughtful plan that sets aside $166 million to preserve vital programs in a financially responsible manner. This is an important step toward building a foundation for residents in our communities. We're spending ARPA funds with transparency and accountability, hallmarks of my administration. Our new website is www.arpa, that's ARPA, .cookcountyil.gov. And thanks to our Bureau of Technology, it has up-to-date reports and information on the hundreds of millions of dollars and numerous programs we're carefully managing. I encourage all of you to take a look. That's cookcountyil.gov. That's our website. In addition to our pandemic recovery efforts, we're spearheading a collection of equity programs through a dedicated equity fund. Now, let me just say, prior to the pandemic in 2018, my chief of staff, Lynetta Haynes-Turner, led an effort that included our staff, the delegate agencies that we work with, the community-based organizations, advocates, our commissioners, and community residents to try to put forward a plan for my administration, which began in 2018. So that was my third administration. And we came up with a roadmap, a policy roadmap. And basically it said, government needs to focus more on equity, particularly addressing racial inequities. So we're committing resources to this fund this year, which will enable us to continue important work in the justice system, public safety, health, housing, economic opportunity, community development, and social services that will benefit historically marginalized communities. To date, we've invested $120 million in the equity fund, of which $70 million is allocated for fiscal year 2024. It's important to note, however, just how significant our systems-oriented equity work is. It's transformed how we implement our strategic plan, in which we looked at everything we do through an equity lens, including equity and grant making. It has recommended policy and structural changes that Cook County government will continue to pursue to address persistent disparities in our communities. The formation of the fund, that is the equity fund, demonstrates that equity is not just an aspirational goal. We're funding it. We're putting it into action. We're committed to working with our community partners to make these efforts inclusive, sustainable, responsive, and impactful. This is an ongoing journey towards building a just and inclusive community. The challenges are significant, but the progress we made so far demonstrates that positive change is possible. The final piece of the budget I want to highlight speaks to our work responding to the crises of today and the disasters of tomorrow. As part of the fiscal year 2024 budget, Cook County is also putting forward a new $100 million disaster recovery and relief fund. From the overwhelming rains and floods of last summer and early fall to new arrivals, and whatever tomorrow and the next day bring, this fund is aimed at increasing the county's capacity to compassionately respond to emergencies and create a funding source that is immediately available to effectively address disasters and crises. The largest portion of the fund is dedicated to helping the new arrivals who have fled their home nations and migrated to our great city and county. The county, through its health and hospital system, has become the primary healthcare provider since the city started receiving new arrivals last August, and we're proud of the coordinated work to date. Cook County Health provides comprehensive medical exams and care to new arrivals once they've gone through the city's intake process, and provides follow-up care as needed. To date, our health system has served 16,000 new arrivals with over 70,000 patient visits to our clinic and other health and hospital locations. The clinic that serves our new arrivals is in Belmont Cragen. These have included complete physical exams, tests, lab services, standard vaccinations, complete school physicals and pediatric vaccines, as well as behavioral health screenings and counseling, care coordination, and prescription medications. We're proud of the compassionate care being provided to our new neighbors. At Cook County Health, we've always provided health care to all who need it, regardless of race, religion, nationality, or ability to pay. We're proud of this. The Cook County budget for the upcoming fiscal year is a reflection of our values and our accomplishments. It embodies the principles of responsible government, investment in our communities, and a belief in inclusivity and social equity. This budget is a blueprint for how a community can meet unprecedented challenges, and I want to thank our commissioners, all 17 of them, for their hard work for our residents. We'll continue to build a Cook County where every resident, whether their family has been here for generations or whether they've newly arrived, has the opportunity to thrive. I want to thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to take your questions. I can't believe there are no questions. I'll start calling on people I know. Go ahead.
Looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenge for the county?
Well, the immediate challenge is how we're going to deal with new arrivals. You know, Governor Abbott of Texas has decided to meet the challenge of new arrivals by exporting folks to Washington, D.C. and New York and Chicago to embarrass us and to create chaos rather than trying to work with the federal government to address the challenge. And there are rumors that he intends to step up the number of buses he sends during the Democratic convention to cause as much disruption as possible. So the immediate issue at hand is trying to meet the needs of our new arrivals in a responsible and respectful way. And the challenge, of course, is that there are a number of residents in Chicago and Cook County who are undocumented, have been undocumented for a very long period of time, and their needs are not being addressed and not on the table in this crisis. And then we have, you know, residents born here who have challenges and who are in communities that have been marginalized and are looking for resources for their communities as well. So got a lot on our plate. Not to mention the international situation, which is more fragile than I can remember in a very long time, with war between Ukraine and Russia, and now the challenges in the Middle East. So the international situation is really unstable, and we have tremendous challenges domestically. So it's a difficult moment.
So President Preckwinkle, you were an alderwoman for 18 years and president.
19, but who's counting? Go ahead.
19. Cook County president for now 13. I'm going to put you on the spot. To what do you attribute your political success? Because during that period, mayors have come and gone, governors have come and gone, but you've kind of been a constant. To what do you attribute your political success?
Well, the first thing I'd say is I didn't give up when I lost my first two elections. I ran for alderman in 1983 and lost. I ran in 1987 and lost. I promised my family in 1991 when I ran again that if I didn't win this time, I was going to give it up and figure out some other course for my life. Then I won an election by 109 votes out of more than 11,000 cast. So the first thing I'd attribute it to is just dumb persistence. You know, I've always been really committed to the job and looked at whatever office I held as an opportunity to serve, and that's paid off for me.
Thank you for such a great talk, President Preckwinkle.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you could answer two questions. There must be intense experiences among the people who are coming here under duress. What types of steps are you needing to take to deal with trauma-informed care within the Cook County hospital system? And you were originally a historian, so I'm wondering if you see any parallels historically in the Chicago area or in other places for what's happening.
Well, I
now.
plead guilty to being a history teacher, which isn't necessarily an historian, but let me just say, whether it's African Americans moving up from profoundly oppressive circumstances in the South to the city of Chicago, or people coming across the Atlantic Ocean, or people coming across our borders in the Southland, this country has always been built on the labor and dreams and aspirations of immigrants and the formerly enslaved. And, that's been our strength. We're a very diverse country, and I've always thought that's one of the best things about us. However, it has always been true that new arrivals have been greeted with enthusiasm and support by some, and hostility and sometimes violence by others. You may recall when African Americans started coming here at the beginning of the last century, after 1910, during the First World War, when there were labor shortages and people were encouraged to come from the South to take the jobs in the factories and so on, that the young men who were off fighting the war had left. There was a lot of tension in communities around race. I was at the Chicago Tribune earlier, and they were asking me about this, and I said, look, there's always been this mixed response. Your own newspaper used to carry ads that said at the bottom, "No Irish need apply," and those were succeeded by ads that said, "No colored need apply." So, and we're at that moment again. Are we going to be welcoming to folks who can be real assets to our country, or are we going to turn people away in fear and anger? And I'm just hoping and praying that there are enough people who appear willing to appeal to our better angels, that we have a more positive rather than negative response. But it's kind of touch and go, especially since we got a candidate for president of the United States who has given permission by his own acts and words and acts for people who want to denigrate people who are different from them by race or tribe or ethnicity or whatever, in profoundly disturbing ways. So it's not just a fragile moment, I think internationally, it's a fragile moment domestically too. I'm not sure I answered both your questions.
The county's had great success in making progress in balancing both human service with fiscal prudence. How would you or do you coach your biggest municipality on getting the same kind of progress?
Well, let me just say, so when I came to the job, I was looking forward to an opportunity to address criminal justice reform, try to improve the quality and efficiency of the health care we delivered. Half our budget is health care. Another 30% is our jails and our courts. So that's about 75, 80% of our budget, depending on the year. So I knew I had to focus on those two arenas. We added a kind of a third leg to the stool, and that's economic development, but I'll get to that in a minute. So that was my sort of, policy agenda. But the finances of the county were in such terrible shape. When I walked into the door, we had a budget gap of $487 million, $500 million to close. And we had to make 15% cuts. And so the first couple of years, despite my interest in these policy arenas that are so important to the county and our legacy obligations around public health and public safety, we had to focus on the finances, because if we didn't focus on the finances, we weren't going to be able to do any of the policy work that was so important to me. So, my advice to elected officials is always get the finances in order, both because that's necessary and important. It's not sufficient, but it's necessary and important. But it gives you the credibility to pursue the policy agenda that you want to pursue. Because I would argue that if I hadn't spent the first couple of years focusing on the finances, nobody would have paid attention to the policy work that we were trying to do, because they would just be beating the stuffing out of me for the mess the county's finances were in. So my advice to folks is always, whatever else you want to do down the road, get the finances in order first.
Thank you so much. I have a question. Hi, everybody. My name is Shelby Edwards. I work with Children's Home and Aid. Now we use the name Brightpoint. Kind of along this similar line of thinking as far as advice goes, what is the greatest piece of advice you've received in life in general? I'm thinking more so as like a quasi-young professional, but if you have like life advice, I'd love to hear it.
Well, a couple things. I mean, when I talk to students, I always talk about the fact that I ran for alderman in 1983 and I lost. I ran in 1987 and I lost, and then I won just by this narrowest of margins in 1991. And so the moral is, if you want to do something badly, you just got to keep at it until you're successful, and you might not be successful at the outset. Actually, in a couple of those elections, I took a pretty good drubbing. But anyway, so just persist, I guess, is that the first thing. And then before I became alderman, some of you may remember Alderman Len DePrey of the 5th Ward. I was alderman of the 4th Ward, so he was the former alderman of the ward immediately to the south of me. He said, Toni, there's no end the good you can do in that body as long as you don't care who gets the credit. So he talked about how he would introduce matters into the city council and they would be voted down, 49-1. And then a couple of months later, somebody else on the administration side would introduce the same matter and it would pass. So persist and try not to care too much who gets the credit.
Good afternoon, thank you. I actually work for you. I work at Stroger, and thank you for being here. I'm a physician there.
Bless you.
No, thank you. So thank you for actually fixing the system so well. The county care is excellent insurance compared to a bunch of other insurance that I have to deal with at work. But my question to you is...
just a second. County Care is a Medicaid expansion program allowed by the Affordable Care Act, President Obama's signature piece of legislation. And we, as a public health institution, decided we would be part of this Medicaid expansion program. And so we run one of the programs in competition with Blue Cross and Blue Shield and others, for example. And we have more enrolled members in our program than anybody else in the county, any other entity in the county. So go ahead, yes.
But what I'm noticing is that we have had a slight flight of patients and also a slight flight of talent from county. So how can we address that? How can we keep our patients returning to county?
Well, having this Medicaid expansion program has been a mixed blessing internally, although it's been great for our participants. So we have 420,000 people who are in county care, more than any other plan in Cook County. We have, the last time I checked, like 100 plus partners, 130 partners or something like that. So federally qualified health centers, safety net hospitals, academic hospitals are all part of our plan. So our participants in county care can go to any of those institutions to get their care. And our challenge from the very beginning has been to try to convince the people who are in our plan, our Medicaid expansion plan, county care, to use the county clinics and Stroger and Provident for their care. We're a public institution. We don't have a lot of money to market our services, and you see ads for other healthcare systems all the time. So part of our challenge is we just don't, as a public institution, have the resources to market the good work we do in the way that other institutions do. But the evaluations of organizations that rank hospitals, particularly on patient care and so on, seen a marked increase in where it stands in those ratings. But it's hard for us to get the word out about that good work. So I guess I'd say partly it's insufficient resources to devote to marketing in the way that the private systems do. But it's also, we have to persuade good people that they should take jobs that maybe don't pay as well as working for Northwestern or the University of Chicago. But they can do very good work there. And we need dedicated, committed people who are willing to make a financial sacrifice to work in public systems if we're going to have effective ones.
Mr. President, I lived in Detroit in the 60s when the city came down in a couple of years. From 67 to 69, the city became absolutely uninhabitable. What are we doing about increasing public safety in Chicago?
Well, what exactly are you asking me?
So what else could we do?
Okay, so the county, let me be clear here. The county runs the court system and the jail. We have a very small police force. That police force is a sheriff's police force, and it patrols unincorporated Cook County, which has 100,000 out of our 5.2 million. So local law enforcement is a municipal function. That is, the city of Chicago has a police force, Evanston has a police force, Schaumburg has a police force. Those cities, towns, and villages are responsible for local law enforcement. Our responsibility is to detain people in the jail who are accused of crimes, or to adjudicate their release so they can be out on their own recognizance or electronic monitoring until their trials, to try people. We're responsible for detention, we're responsible for the court system. But local law enforcement is responsible for the part of public safety that involves patrolling our streets and arresting bad actors. So that's why I'm asking, what's your question exactly? I mean, we don't patrol the streets of the city of Chicago. I will tell you that I have great concerns about the police department in the city of Chicago, having been an alderman for 19 years. And maybe I should quote Arne Duncan. Arne Duncan, as many of you know, was head of the Chicago public school system. He went to Washington to be education secretary under President Obama. He now heads up what's called Chicago Cred, which is an organization that works with young people, almost all men, in their late teens and early 20s, who are at risk of being shooters or being shot at, and it's the same people. The shooters, the people who are at risk of being shot, are the same people who are at risk of being shooters. All right, so that's his mission, to work with those young people and try to get them on a productive path in life. And he said that the biggest driver of violence in the city of Chicago was ineffective policing. Because in the city of Chicago, the closure rate for murders, that is, they arrest somebody, is less than 20%. And the national average is mid-60s, 66, 67. In some communities, it's as high as 80% closure rate on murders. So if you murder somebody in the city of Chicago, you have 8 chances out of 10 of getting away with it. And if you shoot somebody in the city of Chicago, the closure rate for shootings is in the single digits. So you have basically 9 chances out of 10 of getting away with shooting somebody. So as long as the police department is perceived on the street as being hopelessly ineffective, people will turn to street justice, to revenge. Somebody kills your friend, your brother, your cousin, and you know the police aren't ever going to find anybody who did it or aren't going to look, you take it on yourself to exact some justice, some revenge. So that's one problem. The other problem, of course, is we have a terrible reputation in the city for abuse of police powers. So not only ineffectiveness, but no accountability. I like to say they arrested an officer in the Laquan McDonald case and finally found him guilty of, I can't remember, manslaughter or something. He spent less than 5 years in jail. We put people in jail longer for drug cases. Anyway, he took a life and he got convicted of it. That was the first officer in like 30 years that had been tried for murder. Do you think that's the only officer in 30 years who murdered somebody? Of course not. So we don't hold our police accountable for bad behavior, and we don't hold them accountable for doing their jobs well. So as long as we have a police system And this is endemic. It's not just one or two bad actors. It's a system problem. As long as we don't have accountability of our police officers, either for the way in which they abuse and oppress the public, and we don't hold them accountable for solving crimes, we're going to just have terrible violence in our streets. And when the pandemic happened, we saw a perpendicular increase in things like carjacking. And we also saw more murders and shootings. But we saw crimes that will get people pretty easy money, right? At a time when there was an economic collapse. And those challenges around carjackings in particular continue to be a problem, in part because, as Jesse James says, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money was. I mean, you steal expensive cars because that's how you can get money pretty quick. So the police have to think of themselves as guardians, and I'm not sure that that's the way in which police officers across the board in Chicago think of their job.
Thank you so much, President Preckwinkle. I'm just going to go ahead and, if it's okay, circle back to the county care we were talking about here beforehand. I know I have a small business, and I know there's talk about expanding county care and some other things from the county for small businesses. Any initiatives or things that you're hoping to do? I know budgets, constraints, all those things are challenged, but I'd love to hear more on that for small businesses.
During the pandemic, we had not, I just have to admit here, we hadn't done much to support small businesses before the pandemic, but it was clear that the sort of stalling of the economy that came with the pandemic was going to require extraordinary action on the part of government. And so we started providing a variety of kinds of assistance to small businesses. We had a loan program, which we basically turned into a grant program. We continue to have grants for small business of $10,000 and $20,000. I think we just closed the opportunity to apply, but there were limits on the number of employees. So it was very small businesses, like less than a dozen employees and then less than 50. Those were the two categories. But grants were available, and so was technical assistance to try to support organizations, and we do that through our network of community-based organizations. And that has been, I think, very helpful and important work. So I just say that while a focus on small business wasn't really where we were previously, as a result of the lessons of the pandemic, it's where we put a lot of energy and money.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
So, we're switching. My clicker doesn't like to work when I come up here. Oh, there we go. So I wanted to thank you for coming today. And with that, we're giving you a cup to drink your coffee with.
Thank you.
And also
My
there's
tea.
some cookies, your teas, that's right, from Al's Cookie Company.
Okay.
Al started a cookie company for his son and his friends that were autistic and are aging out of the CPS system. And so he started this cookie company for them. So those are my signature cookies, and I want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
They want to give us a picture.
All right.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
And with that, we would love to welcome our international Rotarians that are in the room today. It's right here, on the table.
Hello. I was not prepared to say something, but I'm always willing to. I'm a professor for architecture in Berlin. I'm Rotarian in Berlin. It's the equivalent club of yours. So we call it not Rotary One, we call it Berlin Netto, but it's actually not us who calls us, but it's all the others who call us like that. The reason why I'm here is the conference, American Society of Overseas Research, an archaeological conference, which ran last Wednesday till last Saturday in the Hilton Hotel. Strangely enough, not at the university, so I had to figure out how to meet colleagues around here, but I managed to get some. And so I put a week longer after the conference to get to know the city closer, because as you know, it's the mecca of modern architecture. So when I walk down the streets here, it's just like it's like a museum. You are very happy to live here, I have to say. I mean, Berlin is also it's a good city to live in, but it's not beautiful.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other international Rotarians in the room?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Fischer. I'm a lawyer from Austria. I'm working in Timo. Is he here? No, he is not here. In Timo's team in the corporate field. And I'm happy to be here today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Philipp Ersfeld. I'm from Germany and also a member of the corporate department working together with Timo Rehbock, who has kindly invited us to be here today.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting you.
And so in the interest of time, we have several visiting people today. So I would like for you to stand up, say your name, and who invited you to the meeting today. And you can start with Marlon, that's sitting right next to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marlon Harvey. I'm the Commodore of Jackson Park Yacht Club, and I was invited by Alita. That's how she was our food provider for the last 2 years or 3 years?
2 years.
2 years. She services the club for our dinners, our brunches, our special events, and I must say her food is quite tasty. So, but thank you for having me here today. I enjoy this. Enjoy seeing everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cody Von Ruden, originally from Chicago. I work with Timo Rehbock at Barnes & Thornburg as a corporate associate, so he invited me here today. I've been to a couple of these before. This was fantastic. Glad to be here and seeing some other familiar faces and meeting new people, so thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Harding. I'm a State Farm agent here in Chicago. I'm a guest of Katie Hanlon, who I've known since college, and I'm on her junior board at Project Cure. Thank you for having me today, and it's been educational, so thank you.
Sarah's table.
Hello, I used to be a member of Rotary One when we used to meet at the CAA, Chicago Athletic Association. So I'm visiting because of President Preckwinkle, and I'm so glad to hear her positive report. It's very encouraging. But my grandson is also visiting here. His mother is a Rotarian in Houston, and they have hosted a Rotary Exchange student. And he has attended several meetings at the Madison. He's a freshman in Madison University of Wisconsin. I would like to ask you to look at Rotarian Dominic from Berlin. He's an orphan. He has no place to go for Thanksgiving, and all the restaurants are closed. So if I had my party at home, I'd invite him, but I'm also invited somewhere, and I cannot just bring a guest. So just to tell you that he is thinking of spending his Thanksgiving at the Sears Tower Skydeck, but he cannot spend his whole day there. Please make friends.
Well, you can definitely find him a home to go to.
Thank you, thank you.
I just wanted to say hello. My name is Andrea Luhmann, and quite a few people here know me. I'm a member of this club since 1988, so it's a few years, but I'm not here in Chicago that much since currently I'm living more in Germany, but every time I'm in town, I love to visit the club. Thank you.
We'd love to have you, Andrea.
My name is Mary Pat Cross, and I'm from Chicago, but I live in Wilmette. But I worked under President Preckwinkle. She was my third board president that I worked for, by far the best. When she walked in, she went to every single employee, and there were a lot of us, and said, "My name is Toni." And it was a pleasure working for her and just listening to her. The other thing she leads away on is sustainability and climate change in the forest preserve. So Shawnee's invited me.
Thank you. Sarah? Judge Neely? Judge Neely, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melanie Neely. I am currently by day a chief administrative law judge, and by every minute of my life a mother. And my son was actually in the Rotary One program this past cycle, and we enjoyed it so wonderfully. I've been supporting ever since and coming to as many events as possible. I was invited by Alita Williams. And I'm just excited to be here. When I heard that President Preckwinkle was the guest speaker, had to be here as usual. I've heard President Preckwinkle over the years. She did not disappoint. The speech was wonderful and honest, and I appreciated it. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much. To the slides. So with that, several people have stated they would love to become a member, and we would love to have you or returning members to come back. Come on back. We're here. We're still here. So please go to the website if you're interested, or talk to any of the many members that are in the room, or Andrew, our membership co-chair over there. Thank you. And we have upcoming meetings coming up. We would love to have you. All of our meetings are open to the public. And tomorrow we are serving Thanksgiving dinner at the Cornerstone location on 1111 North Wells. I am currently the food service coordinator and chef for that location. We serve over 200 meals every single Wednesday. And tomorrow, I'm doing a huge Thanksgiving dinner and need lots of hands. So anyone who would still like to come by, please come by from 2 to 5 or 5 to 7. And now Sarah can come up and talk about community service.
Okay, so I am Sarah Buck. I am the Community Service Committee co-chair with Wes, who is here today. And just a couple of things I want to highlight. We have a college scholarship that is ongoing until November 30th. This is available to any student who is attending college in the city, in Chicago proper. It is a service-based scholarship, so we invite anyone you might know to apply. That closure date is November 30th. And then also, in December, we have coming up a holiday event. We have partnered with the Union League's Boys and Girls Club, and this will be they've told us about 75 kindergarten through second graders. So please, if you are interested in helping out, you can register in the gyrator, which, by the way, you can link to in the QR code on the table. So this is Tuesday, December 19th from 4 till 6. The address is up there, but it's on 19th Street, just west of Damon. And so we have planned a craft for the kids to do. We're going to be giving them a book or two as part of a gift. The Union League Club is providing a Santa, so that'll be part of the festivities as well. So you can imagine with 75 little ones, we need more than just me and one other person. So please, this is the first time that we're doing this. So if you are interested in helping out, please register. And also, please register. Shelter Box is an organization that helps
goes in disaster areas and gives shelter to people in need. And they're having a conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. It started as a Rotary fellowship and then has grown to its own organization, but it's still very tied to Rotary. So if you would like to be a part or just want to go to Vegas and say you're going to Shelter Box, they will be there from December 1st to the, it's out there. I'm a realist. It's Chicago in December. It's very possible. And if you'd like to donate to the Rotary Foundation, all the piggy banks on our cute little piggy banks on the table, most of the tables, all the donations that we get help us do the craft work, the craft fairs that we do, our scholarships and things of that nature, and also to give back to the community. So donations to the foundation would be very wonderful. And for our members, download the Ignite app so that you can take wonderful service selfies when we are outside ringing the bell for the Salvation Army, at the craft table, register for meetings, pay your bills, all those things. Or wonderful people who you meet out that say they want to be a Rotary member, you can put it in the app and they'll send it to them instantly. We're out there to help you get more Rotarians. This is the QR code for our gyrator, which is on every table. These are our upcoming committee meetings. Please feel free to join any of our committee meetings. The International Service Committee at this time is canceled for this December, but they will have a meeting in January. Okay. These are all of our upcoming meetings. We have Dr. King next week and our roundtables every Friday where we just kind of meet up and just have a good lunch. We have our holiday celebration on December 5th at Cafe Chow, and Cook County Clerk Karen Yarbrough will be here on December 12th. Please call the office if for whatever reason you cannot make it to the lunch, because we do not wish to waste food. So that'd be very helpful. And as you see, our servers would really appreciate knowing you are coming ahead of time. And our birthday table, I would like to say happy birthday to all of our wonderful members who have birthdays this month. And thank you all for coming out so that we could celebrate you. I really appreciate you. And with that, if we could all stand so we can do the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And our new number 5, will it be fun? Thank you. And with that, I close this meeting.